respected dignitaries, teachers, and my dear friends. I extend my warmest welcome to this afternoon on behalf of Amrita School of Arts and Sciences, Kochi, for the webinar session on Emotional Intelligence and Workplace Communication by Dr. U. Krishnakumar. The Public Relations Council of India's Young Communicators Club, Kochi chapter at Amrita School of Arts and Sciences, Kochi, was officially inaugurated on 3rd of May this year. And this is our 4th online event and our 3rd webinar session. Let us start the session with a token of gratitude to the Almighty.
Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Harihi Om Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Asato ma Satgamaya Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
Now I invite Mr. Sudarsh Sudhakaran, President, PRCI YCC Chapter, Amrita School of Arts and Sciences, Kochi, to formally welcome the virtual gathering.
Namashivaya, and good afternoon to all present here. I feel extremely privileged and honored to be given this opportunity to welcome you all to this webinar organized by the Public Relations Council of India's Young Communicators Club, Amrita School of Arts and Sciences, Kochi chapter. First and foremost, I welcome our resource person, Dr. U. Krishnakumar, the Director and Dean, Amrita School of Arts and Sciences, Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, Kochi campus, who will share his wisdom and knowledge on emotional intelligence and workplace communication. I also welcome Dr. T. Vinay Kumar, the National President of Public Relations Council of India, and also the Director of World Communicators Council and Vice President and Director of PRCI YCC Governing Council to this event. I would also like to welcome Sri Ramsi Menon, Director, PRCI YCC Kerala State, to this event. Last but not the least, I welcome all the attendees, including the students, YCC members, and faculty coordinators from other colleges who spared some time to grace us with their presence today. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you. Namashivaya.
Thank you so much, Sudarsh. Now it's time to begin the session. I invite Ms. Shivadatta R., Executive Member of PRCI YCC Chapter, Amrita School of Arts and Sciences, Kochi, to introduce our guest.
Om Namah Shivaya. A very good evening to all the respected dignitaries, staff members, and participants attending this webinar. Today's session is being presented by none other than Dr. U. Krishnakumar sir. Dr. U. Krishnakumar serves as the Director and Dean of Kochi campus of Amrita School of Arts and Sciences. He is a member of the Board of Management of Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, the Deemed University accredited with NAC A++, 5th in the NIRF, and recommended by UGC as Institution of Eminence. He had his BTech degree from Calicut University, ME in Computer Science from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and PhD in Computer Science from Indian Institute of Technology, Mumbai. He has more than 35 years of academic and research experience in India and abroad. His areas of research guidance and academics include data mining, computational biology, CSR, organic farming, media studies, yoga, culture, and philosophy. He has published many research papers in peer-reviewed journals and conferences of international repute. He has also served as principal investigator of DST project in cognitive science. He is a life member and patron of the Computer Society of India and life member of the Indian Society for Technical Education. We are honored to have gotten this opportunity to learn from you, sir. I request you to take over the stage and begin the session, sir. Thank you.
Om Amriteshwari Namaha. My humble prostrations at the lotus feet of our most beloved Amma, the Chancellor of the Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, and as the world-renowned humanitarian leader, spiritual guru, and the Chancellor of the Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham. What she focuses on education are two values, the education for life and education for living. Living comprises of various domains where we learn medicine, engineering, arts and sciences, media, literature, whatever. That's meant for living. But the other side of the coin, the life, encompasses a lot of compassion, empathy, values embedded within the education system. So my humble pranams to Dr. Vinay Kumar, the National President of PRCA, Shri Ram C. Menon, and my pranams to Gayatri, who is doing the comparing, and all the Dr. Dinesh Babu and his colleagues and my dear colleagues are here sitting in front of me as well as online. And Pushagriha, who did the prayer. And my humble pranams to all the attendees who are assembled in this. Actually, the emotional intelligence is a topic which I have been teaching as part of this cognitive science initiative, as a prologue to this cognitive science initiative learning, in which I am engaged in the research also. One of the key things what everyone needs is the emotional quotients. And with IQ alone, you can live, but you cannot lead a life. EQ is essential these days. And above the EQ, again, there is something more called as spiritual quotients or SQ. But at least at the level of EQ, you should have imbibed something of EQ. So maybe some of you may be already aware of this topic and maybe already familiarized with this topic. So I teach this as an open elective, the emotional intelligence, as an open elective for the last 3-4 years. I have been teaching for the graduate students, and I thought I will introduce this to the benefit of the YCC and the PRCI, so that somebody else will also be prompted to take up it as a serious mission to learn and practice. We are all practicing EQ in one way or other. We are all practicing EQ. But the scientific basis of this, if someone is there to spell it out and give you the basic tenets of this, it will be easy to practice and learn, contemplate on it and practice. That's the objective of this whole session. And I have not too many slides, but these slides are encompassing a lot of examples and a lot of ideas which I feel will prompt someone to do more on this. So, is my slide clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Is the PPT clear to you? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, shall I start my session? So, I have named it as emotional intelligence and workplace communication. The emotional intelligence is sometimes also known as emotional quotients. When it is connected with intelligence, quite obviously, there's a question of how do you measure the emotional aspect of it. The same question applies to the intelligence quotients also. The intelligence, how do you measure it? You can't measure it, but you have to assess it through the output of it. Similarly, the emotions, you cannot measure. You cannot say that, yes, I was angry 20%, I was happy 30%. You can't measure it. But it's the outcome what shows how emotionally intelligent you are, how much is your emotional quotient. Similarly, in the workplace communication, and this, the Young Communicators Club it is, and the whole act of PRCI is the act of communication. Therefore, any workplace without communication, the workplace doesn't have life. Therefore, I thought I will connect the concepts of emotional intelligence and how what happens in a workplace when you communicate. So we shall first try to go into the most introductory these three terms: emotions, intelligence, and workplace communication. Emotions, as all of us know, we have experienced ourselves, we show it, we see in films, we see in others also. So it's a net result of the excitement of the feelings resulting from moving on the mind, or what you otherwise call as the flow of thoughts. So this moment you may be thinking something about what is happening around you. The next moment you may be thinking about your sister or brother working abroad. The next moment you may be thinking about your grandmother. So the flow of thoughts, mind is a complete, total flow of thoughts. So, and these thoughts may be pleasing or painful, disturbed, agitated, whatever the mind is causing. It results in the specific exciting impulses and vibrations. And this gets manifested by some sensible effect on the body. If a dancer is asked to show the Navarasas, the dancer is exactly able to show it on the face, an exact depiction of all the 9 rasas, Vivalsa, Shungaram, whatever it is. Therefore, Navarasas is an excellent example of all this depiction of the emotions. And some of the example emotions, now what you see in WhatsApp and other the IT platforms, what you will find lot of these kinds of the symbols, the emoticons or whatever you call it. Some examples of emotions. Happiness. So we construe the happiness as a positive emotion. And it's an expression of pleasure, contentment, joy, etc. But suppose your enemy, supposed to be enemy, you are supposed to be inimical to a person, and he raises high above the society and he becomes so highly positioned in the society and he earns lot of reputation. Is your happiness, is his happiness your happiness? No, need not be. Similarly, surprise, an expression used when something unexpected or sudden occurs. Again, the disgust is a strong feeling of dislike. The fear, again, is construed as negative, a feeling that something dreadful or dangerous is about to happen. But at the same time, suppose you are walking around the bush and you are seeing a snake, and the snake is a cobra, it has raised also. That fear, though it's feelingly negative, that fear prompts you to run away from it. Or if an animal is attacking you, or someone else is attacking you, there is fear, but then you are prompted. So it's a prompting to do some positive action to escape yourself or to get away from that negativity, what is caused by that particular particular impulse, what has been produced. So the sadness is again negative, the state of being sad, unhappy, sorrowful, depressed, or mournful. As human beings, we all go through, at one instant or other, we all go through these sort of emotions every moment in our life. It all depends on how positive you are accommodating, how negative you are trying to avoid it. All these vary. Then what is the role of intelligence? Emotions connected with intelligence. Intelligence again is a quality given to the human beings and animals also, but human beings there is an additional element of intelligence given. What is this? The ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. Also decipher the knowledge, every piece of knowledge, you have the ability to decipher using your discretion. That is what makes man different from animals. An animal cannot decide. The next moment it is instinctive, whereas man also is instinctive, but man is also given an additional, the Creator has given an additional quality for the intelligence, that is the discretion. So the ability to use the discretion, what you have already acquired, apply the knowledge and skills. So intelligence is of no use unless you have the knowledge connected with it, the skills connected with it. You cannot apply it. Where do you apply it? In a workplace. In a workplace. And how do you apply it? Through communication process. So if you're silent, suppose you remain silent in a situation where you have to communicate. You are not applying the skills, you are not applying the discretion. Whereas the communication is essential to exchange the information and ideas in the workplace. What I am precisely doing now is workplace communication. And what is the relevance of the CI? Many of the emotions are inappropriate in a workplace environment. For example, the emotions what can be applied in a hotel is different from what can be applied in a railway station, in the counter of a ticket counter, in a film theater, in an airport, in a bank, in an education institution when the class is going on. All these emotions are, perhaps some of these emotions are practiced in every place, but then they are appropriate or inappropriate based on the context of the workplace. So the workplace environment decides whether these emotions, these particular emotions are appropriate or inappropriate. And the emotions of individuals have significant effect on managing relationships. I am slowly developing the topic. The emotions of individuals have significant effect on managing relationships. That decides, the emotion of an intelligent decides whether the effect, what is to be produced on the relationship. As an example, a senior manager is sitting, and whatever annoying it is, whatever may be the results of an action produced by him, a junior goes and shouts. What will be the significant effect of the action produced then by the manager? Perhaps he may keep cool, perhaps he may keep very cool and take stringent silent action. Perhaps he may also shout at the other fellow. Anything can happen. Therefore, again, one thing only we can say that it has significant effect on managing the relationships. So who manages? The person responsible for producing the emotion He is responsible for managing it. How? He is given the ability to think, he is given the ability to apply his discretion. So it is, therefore, it is not the same way a policeman behaves to a culprit, a teacher behaves to a student, a culprit behaves to one of his victims. It all differs. There is always a relationship in between these three contexts. Relationship is there, always present. Then, so in short, we should acknowledge the fact that the emotions are present and do something intelligent about it. So this is a connection between the emotions and the intelligence. Then how is it useful to us? Having talked all this theory, how is it useful to us ultimately? Are you going to talk to me something useful to me? Yes, it's going to help us. By the time the session is over, you will think about. Because as I told you, it's a full course of 50 to 75 hours. I've taken few tips and hints on how to put you onto this. So it helps us to focus and stay on the right track. Emotional intelligence, not the emotion alone, not the intelligence alone. That means it's used to create our awareness and develop the awareness on for what purpose we are doing something, and are we envisioning any result out of our action. Purpose and vision. Also, the EI teaches us to cope up with the change or uncertainty. It may be change or uncertainty happening in an organization where we are working, or it may be in our personal lives. It will help us to maintain effective relationship. Therefore, Dale Carnegie, who has written the most, read about book, The Win Friends and Influence People. He has written few other books also. In one of these books, he says, when dealing with people, remember you are not dealing with creatures of logic, but with creatures of emotion. The same thing once, when I told my boss, my principal who was, when I was working as a lecturer, I told my principal, sir, after having finished some discussion with him, I told him, sir, few people are waiting outside my room for some purpose to be got done. So shall I take leave? He was a very humorous person, quick-witted. You know what he said? Don't say few people are waiting, few problems are waiting. Few problems are waiting to be solved. So I always remember this, the Dale Carnegie's statement. So now this is a point where you should distinguish yourself between the mere intelligence and the wisdom. Till now I have not been talking about wisdom. Only intelligence, only the emotion. So emotion cannot control the intelligence. Intelligence can be applied to control emotions. But above this stands what you call as a wisdom. So wisdom is something above both these. Wisdom is the right way of, shows the right way of applying the intelligence required for controlling the emotions. So intelligence alone might lead to arguments sometimes. Wisdom leads to settlement. This is where the experience one has gained out of intelligence and the emotions helps us. Intelligence is power of will. Wisdom is power over will. Intelligence leads towards pursuit of knowledge. Wisdom is pursuit of truth, and it inspires a learner. Intelligence can lead you to some extent, but wisdom guides you. This is what all the spiritual gurus like Amma and all the other spiritual gurus, what they are doing is the fourth one. They know that intelligence can lead people, but they shower the wisdom to guide you through a big tunnel, a dark tunnel where there is light at the end of the tunnel. So the wisdom can guide you to the end of the tunnel where you can see the light. So intelligence alone cannot do it. Intelligence can only tell you, you enter the tunnel, how do you go about it? How do you get into that and see the light for yourself? That can be given only by the wisdom. An intelligent man understands what is being said. A wise man also understands what is left unsaid. That comes out of a wise man's experience, which the intelligent man may or may not possess. So, an intelligent man tries to control the mass flow, but a wise man navigates the mass flow. That is the difference between some of the most intelligent political leaders. Some political leaders are they have total control over the mass flow. But if that political leader possesses a lot of wisdom also, if he is a wise man, he can take the mass flow along with him. It not only applies to politics, but all fields. That is so, therefore, there is a difference between intelligence and wisdom. Profound distinction. That is the reason we need to understand more about this combined term called as emotional intelligence. So where does it start? Where does it end? Or does it end at all? So for this, the most essential thing is the first quadrant, the self-awareness. The second quadrant says self-management. If you are aware of your strengths and weaknesses, your correct way of assessing yourself, and suppose you are self-confident, then you come across a point where you will start to control yourself, where you apply your truthfulness, your transparency in dealings, your adaptability to situations, your drive to achieve something, and your initiative. You apply and you start managing yourself. But is that enough? Does it stop there? No, we have already been talking about we, not I. Therefore, we need to apply this emotional intelligence, these two parts we need to apply. If you want to continue living, you need to apply these two. Another aspect. How do you manage the relationship? But how do you manage the relationship? That is possible only if you are socially aware also. Where you should stand in the shoes of the others, where you shall understand the needs and what you understand about the others. Empathy. Then only you will be able to be compassionate, loving, and understand the other's situation. Which when applied to organization, the organizational awareness, service orientation, then all these, the self-management, social awareness, will take you towards the relationship management, where you will be able to inspire others in the team, others who are concerned with you. You will be able to develop others. You will be able to influence others. You will be acting as a change catalyst if there is a change required. You will be able to manage conflicts. You will be able to build bonds among the people, among you and others, and among others when there is a conflict between the two. All this talks about the teamwork and the collaboration. So you see how beautiful the whole concept of EI is developed. We go deeper into it, into the different components. As an example, all these the four quadrants what we have shown, there is a central point called as motivation, connecting these four quadrants. And I am giving the definition and the hallmark or the output or what comes out of it through acting upon it. So the self-awareness is the ability to recognize and understand your moods, emotions, drives, as well as their effects on others. So when you produce a particular mood, when you produce a particular emotion, when you drive something, when you take an initiative and start driving, how are the others going to accept it? So the hallmark is the self-confidence. How the self-confidence comes? Out of experience. How it comes? You already had gone through the experience, you have scored some marks on it. Then the realistic self-development, pragmatic, apply to the situation. Then self-deprecating sense of humor. You should not be deprecating, and you should have some sense of humor, even if something you are negative, you are making a remark. So based on this, what you feel next is, how do you regulate yourself? I am aware of certain abilities of me, certain weaknesses of me, and then self-regulation. The ability to control or redirect some of the wrong impulses or disruptive impulses and moods, and the propensity to suspend the judgment, to think before acting. Our Guru Ammas always says, there should be a gap between your thought and the action. The better the gap, the better will be the outcome. So this gap allows us to suspend if there is any judgment required. I remember I read well. So I was a voracious reader some time back. I remember one paragraph in Freedom at Midnight, the famous book. In that book, Lord Mountbatten announced after Gandhiji has been assassinated. Mountbatten himself came and announced it over the radio for the whole nation. You know what he announced? No one knew what he's going to announce. He only knew that Gandhiji has been assassinated. And it was in the peak of the communal riots that he was assassinated, at that time only. Or a communal riot might happen. He is one with peak of emotional intelligence at that time. He announced, Gandhiji has been assassinated. Next sentence was, he was a Hindu. That is the next sentence. You open the book, Freedom at Midnight, and see for yourself. It's a perfect example of emotional intelligence and suspension of judgment. Another example I will tell you from my own experience. One of the students who was studying here, she was a daughter of my own classmate, engineering classmate. She was in the final BCom. She was taking the final examination, the most final examination, the last examination. And she has already secured admission for MBA in one of the Amrita institutions. Last examination. That particular day morning, his father died at Hyderabad. He was a divisional engineer in BSNL, and he died at Hyderabad. I got the news from her elder brother, who is a doctor, who was supposed to come to the campus next day and pick her up, taking her to home, taking all the relief from the hostel, everything. He called me and he said, Father is no more. I am here in Kottakkal, and Father is in Hyderabad. He suffered a massive cardiac arrest and went off in 2-3 hours. Nothing could be done. But he said, don't inform Parvati. Examination was about to begin. 9:30 was the examination. I'm getting this news at 9:50. Remember my plight. My classmate's daughter. So don't inform Parvati. I'm telling the real name only. So what I should do? I did not inform Parvati because it was her final examination. She has entered the examination hall. Suppose if I inform her, take her out. If she doesn't appear for the exam, her one whole year is lost. And yes, she has already secured MBA admission. What I did, I told this doctor, the brother of Parvati, I told him, I will not tell her now. He is a doctor. I will not tell her now, let the exam be over. Then he told me, he's a doctor, he's more intelligent than me in this matter. He told me, don't tell her now. Tell her that father was having some sickness from Hyderabad and he is traveling back to Trivandrum. That's all. Rest I will manage. And instead of coming the next day, he came the same day by evening, took all the relief from the hostel, everything, took Parvati out of the campus. So Parvati's news is, father is sick, and he cancelled his official trip to Hyderabad, and he is traveling back to Trivandrum, which is his headquarters. Suspension of judgment. I am telling you from my own experience, not somebody else's experience. I am telling you the real name of the person also. So the trustworthiness and integrity, the comfort with ambiguity, and the openness to change, these are all the end results of the self-regulation. You think about, every day you think about how much I have practiced today. Every night before you sleep, how much I have practiced some of these factors, how much I have come out with this outcome. Every day. You cannot have a situation when you are working somewhere where you would not have got annoyed with somebody, you would not have fired somebody, you would not have allowed somebody, you would not have helped somebody. All these are situations. But how you regulated yourself. Think about it. Contemplate on it every day before you go to bed. Think about it. A passion to work for reasons that go beyond the money or status. A propensity to set some judgment, to think before acting. I already given the example also. So the end result is a strong drive to achieve, optimism, even in the face of a failure. And that improves your organizational commitment, wherever you are, whether you are doing your own business also, or whether you are establishing a relationship with your parents or your children or your own family. That is an organization. The commitment to that organization improves. So on top of above all these, the ability to understand the emotional makeup of other people, the empathy, skill in treating people according to their emotional reactions. This is where the spiritual gurus, they know the reactions, they know your emotions much before you, because of their intuitions, they know you much better than what you speak about yourself. So they come down to that level and communicate. That's what people like Amma are doing every moment. Expertise in building and retaining talent, cross-cultural sensitivity. Think about religion, think about all the other disparities or differences, what one man is made different from other man. Of course, applies to women also. Service to your clients and customers when it comes to business. And the social skills when you develop, based on the empathetic feeling what you have achieved, you will be able to manage relationships and build networks of relationships. And the ability to find common group and rapport. The end result is effectiveness leading to the change and the persuasiveness. You will be able to keep on with the changes, keep on going more and more negative, more and more positive in spite of changes happening every moment. And this ultimately results in team building and building effective teams, expert teams. It's not moving. Yeah. So summary of this, if I put forth, it's an ability of an individual to deal successfully with other people, to manage oneself, motivate other people, understand one's own feelings, and appropriately respond to the everyday environment. Therefore, EA is being seen as an excellent medium to enhance the environment, culture, leadership, and team dynamics. Team dynamics is all about the leadership and the collaboration within an organization. It was Daniel Goleman, a psychologist who was also a science journalist, who reported about the brain and behavioral sciences in a book called as Emotional Intelligence. Even now that book is fast selling. In 1995, that book was a New York Times bestseller, 5 million copies in 40 languages. And he proposed a mixed model of the abilities and the traits individuals possess. That is called the mixed model introduced by Daniel Goleman. So it all starts from the ability model where the individuals possess their abilities to process information and based on their own emotional nature and to relate their emotional processing to a wider cognition. Then the EA model, trait model refers to individual self-perception, how one understands oneself of their emotional abilities. Oneself. This is why I said contemplate daily on the positives and negatives, what you have gone through every day. And try to remove the negativities the next day. You will ultimately become positive day by day. So the mixed model focuses on EA as a wide variety of competencies and skills. Here, Goleman infused the above two models. He infused also various competencies and skills to drive you towards your leadership skills. How you perform as a leader, because every one of us, we want to be leaders. Every one of us. So, Daniel Goleman's proposition of intelligence, emotional intelligence, is very important for every one of us, as it is one of the deciding factors of relationship management, because it encompasses motivation, retention, self-management, managing others. When you run industries, when you run organizations, and when you are running a family also. So retention. Retention here implies, as an example, in a family, your son should not be fighting with you every day. Your brother should not be fighting with you every day. So how do you prevent it? You manage yourself and then try to manage others. So at the same time, what a policeman does in his office and a policeman does in his family are different. What a surgeon does in the theater, operation theater, he doesn't think about his wife or family members. When he comes to the dining table in the home, he is with the family members. He forgets about the operation theater. Therefore, doesn't mean the emotional intelligence doesn't mean that you have to be soft always. No. It means you have to be intelligent about emotions. It's a different way of how being smart. So where you want to be harsh, where you want to be firing somebody, if it is inevitable, you have to act upon it. A policeman cannot tell a culprit who has been caught red-handed. You cannot tell him, look here, I love you. No, policeman cannot tell him like that. He has a different tone. But a father, in spite of the fact that the son has done a mistake, first he might scold. Later on, he might not scold. He might love and show empathy and then understand the son's behavior. But sometimes the son's behavior may not change at the same instant. He may keep on trying and change the behavior. These are all situations not being faced only in families, organizations, individuals, among individuals, everywhere. So how we are changing ourselves is the most important thing. And it doesn't mean the change should be always towards being soft. No, that's a wrong interpretation. Intelligence doesn't mean being soft alone. So how do you build a checklist for building an emotionally intelligent team then? How much time I have? Only 3 more slides. I have time? You are not getting bored, I suppose. Okay. Okay. So the self-awareness is related to how does a team know its purpose? Importance of achieving the purpose. Then team solicits honest feedback if it is a teamwork. Because I've given the heading as an emotionally intelligent team. So does the team learn from mistakes? Any serious issues within the team which you are not aware of? Here the self is a team. So if somebody is causing all the problems and that other team members are not aware of this fellow is creating all the problems. If the team members are not aware of, and the team leader is not being informed of it, the team member is intelligent but emotionally not aware. You get it? So is a team, from the relationship point of view, is a team able to accept each other? Is the team aware of its shortcomings? Is the team taking measures to correct themselves? Then what are you doing to help your team advance, overcome all this? How long does it take a new entrant to be productive? The orientation sessions, all these for the students, for the the induction session for new staff in a company or institution or anywhere. Even the induction session of a daughter-in-law into the son's home, the son-in-law into the daughter-in-law's home. Induction session happens, right? So, how long does it take a new entrant to be productive? Productive here means not producing children, but how long it takes one to show the abilities and the emotional intelligence, skills and the emotional intelligence, how it is going to be beneficial to that family, how it is beneficial to be mutually beneficial. This is where it is. So every situation, EI has an application. Then self-management, what are the factors? Does bullying occur? Are you very fond of bullying somebody and find out his mistakes and always bullying? What mechanisms are in place to resolve the team conflicts? The end result of bullying sometimes team conflicts. Then what is the emotional tone set of your leadership? Negative or positive? How EA is reinforced, encouraged, or rewarded? How is work-life balance managed? When it comes to a family, when it comes to a situation. So, the first talk on EI I heard from a lady doctor who is a surgeon. I heard it from Bangalore. One of the first talks, I heard it about 10 years back. That aroused me an interest to learn EI. First time. My cognitive science research connected on to EI for the first time during that talk. That doctor was telling me, I get a lot of calls from some people, relatives, all this. I don't pick up my call at all when I am in the operation theater. I come back, answer all these calls. When I get back to family, I don't talk even a single word about what happened in the operation theater. My husband is also a doctor, that's what he said. He's not a surgeon, he's a physician. This is a real story happened, I forgot the name of I can tell you later when I refer back to my notes. I'm still keeping with me. And so I forgot the name. Sorry, she was a good author. She was a very good speaker in emotional intelligence. So, motivation point of view, the four quadrants connected through motivation. Does the team have a sense of purpose? Do they know how their job fits into the big picture? So, in Malayalam there is a saying, ഒന്നിനെയും നിസ്സാരമായി തള്ളിക്കളയരുത്. Don't take anything as silly. Do you know what motivates the job fits into the big picture? In a big picture, you are drawn the face of a person and the eyes are not there. Does it look like a man's face? No. Eye is a small element in that. Within that, the eyeball is a small element. But if you remove that eyeball, that distorts the whole picture. However big the face is. It's a perfect example for that. So, do we know what motivates each member? For each member, the motivation level is different because emotional intelligence level is different. Do they contribute above and beyond the expected outcome? Does each member often get feedback? Some of the people might get feedback, they will not reveal it. Some people get feedback every day. Some people are so fond of giving feedback every day. So all these you find in organizations. All these will decide your relationship management skills and the ability to manage relationship in a team. So team members feel valued and listened to. See, ear is one of the Panchendriyas and the most dangerous Panchendriya. If you talk nonsense, The person who is hearing lashes at you on the face, the first victim is ear. Next is only the teeth. The first victim is ear. Therefore, do team members feel valued and listened to? Would they recommend you as a good boss to work for? Some boss are very famous boss in some companies. Do they take efforts to refer people from outside? What is the tone of our communication with your team? Do they take the extra effort required to get the work done? All these are applied to all the team members, intra-team members, inter-team members, cross-cultural team members, and among the different teams. So it's not applied to just individuals alone. And the benefits of a better intelligence, emotional intelligence. All this already been spoken about. Better teamwork, that is the ultimate benefit. Naturally work better as a team for several reasons. Better workplace environment, easier adjustments, greater self-awareness, greater self-control, and one step ahead, your companies, definitely. So this is one of the advantages of our university itself. People look at a role model and then work. Therefore, the selfless attitude props up more in the work than any other things. Commitment. So, our EI affects the quality of our lives because it influences our behavior and relationships. That's the ultimate what it is. All the other things have already been spoken about. How then we can improve our emotional intelligence? The obvious question after having heard all this. How we can improve the emotional intelligence? Pay attention to self. Don't denigrate yourself. And also others' body language. Your body language should be proper, others' body language also. Pay attention to that. Listen more, speak less, develop empathy. Doesn't mean that in situations where you have to speak a lot, you have to speak. That is not what is implied by this sentence, by this phrase. Get curious and not furious. What you say, especially when frustrated or annoyed, that is a point where you lose your self-control, you use your everything, and then you get blasted up. Reframe the negative emotions into curiosity. This makes absolutely no sense to me. Can be replaced by, do you see something in this that I must be missing? You should be humble enough to admit certain things which you don't know. Yes, I don't know. I want to learn from you. I want to learn from you. That is how we all have learned. You all have learned right from your birth and as you walk along to your graveyard. We are learning every moment. And emotions are like virus, contagious. A dominant person's emotions, negative or positive, always influences others. So leaders should be careful to show only those emotions which they want to see in others. Ultimately, again, one more by a famous author. We can buy people's time, we can buy their physical presence at a given place, we can even buy a measured number of muscular motions per hour, but we cannot buy enthusiasm, we cannot buy loyalty, we cannot buy the devotion of their hearts. That we must earn. And this is what I am coming to finally. When Daniel Goleman said this in 20th century, 5,000 years back, Krishna told Arjuna the same thing. Uddhared atmanatmanam, atmanam avasadhed, atmeva atmano bandhu, atmeva atmanaha. Meaning, uddhared atmanatmanam, you uplift yourself, your emotional status. Do not denigrate yourself. Don't ridicule yourself. Because you decide your happiness. For only you are your friend and only you are your enemy. The Malayalam also is given there. Amma always tells us, Sandosham ഒരു തീരുമാനമാണ്. Happiness is a decision. Amma always tells us. So you decide whether you want to be happy. And connected with this is another sloka. The above one is the Bhagavad Gita, 6th chapter, 5th sloka from Dhyana Yoga. And the last one is here. Another sloka, Acharyat Padamadatte, Padam Shishya Samedhaya, Padam Sabrahmajaribhya, Padam Kalakramenaja. Sometimes we say Shesham Kalakramenaja. Pada means 1/4. You will learn 1/4 from the teacher. You 1/4 from your intelligence. Here the intelligence implies the wisdom and the state of mind. 1/4 from classmates or peers or from this world. An elephant may not be your classmate sitting in your bench and learning with you, but elephant is a peer. A dog is a peer. A cat is a peer. Every object what you see in nature should be treated as a peer. So here peer is not just a classmate alone. Then 1/4 in due course of time. As you mature along the previous 3. This is there in the Mahabharatam, Udyoga Parvam 44:16. So the conclusion is the results of EI, again I am emphasizing the workplace communication, more positive work culture, cordial relationships, better workforce management. Finally, I am going to take you at a video, which is a recent, highly forwarded video on the WhatsApp. I also received it. I don't know from where I received it. It has been forwarded many times. And connected with this, I am still remembering a journalist came here a few years back to talk to the visual media students. His name is Raju Rafael. He has visited Netherlands. And he had been in Amsterdam for 40 days. And he studied one situation as a journalist there. What he studied was the usage of cycles. In Amsterdam is one country in the whole world where cycle is the main public transport system. And cycles are used by everybody. People cycle about 20 kilometers, 15 kilometers, 20 kilometers, managing directors, CEOs, all these people, they go by cycle to companies, come back. Least polluted country, least polluted capital city, Amsterdam. And the biggest airport is in Amsterdam, Schiphol Airport, one of the biggest airports in the world. I had spent there 10 hours in that Schiphol Airport long back in 1996. That's why I'm telling you. Beautiful country, beautiful atmosphere, beautiful environment. The Raju Rafael is a Malayali journalist. He wrote a book, Amsterdam Cyclugal. If you happen to read that, it will be a blessing because it's an excellent book. Only about cycles, he has written how people use cycles and all. Very interesting piece to read. Since I read a lot, I have read this also. I read a lot in English and Malayalam. So I take you to the video because it has been a very recent thing. You see how in Netherlands, the school children have started making use of cycles now, especially with the onset of Corona. It's a very short video, not at all boring also. Very short, hardly 1 minute. But it conveys a lot of stuff on emotional intelligence. It conveys to you what is collaboration, what is empathy, what is cordial relationship. So many students, about 20 of them, 1 or 2 of them cycling the pedal. And cycle is another instrument in Amsterdam where more time is allotted in traffic junctions for cycles to pass, then only big vehicles are allowed to pass. I read it from Raju Rafael's book. So I gave you some instigation. This is another part of emotional intelligence. I made you to instigate. I wanted to instigate you to look at these two words, emotion and intelligence, and start working on it. That's all what I did. Thank you very much for the patient hearing. And I did not go into the details of it. I did not go into the elaborate treatment of emotional intelligence. It is not the psychiatrist or psychologist alone who practices emotional intelligence. We all can start practicing either at home or office or your organization, business, or even in the sports ground. Sports ground is an excellent example of emotional intelligence. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Dr. Vinay Kumar. Thank you, Shri Ramsi Menon, for your patient hearing, and thank you all very much. I seek your blessings. I wish you all the best in life. And let me conclude with chanting of a sloka for that matter. Wishing you all the best. Airarogya Aishwaryanam Abhivriddhirastu Uttarottaram Abhivriddhirastu Aham Prarthayami. Means I am praying for the well-being of all of you who are on the platform, all of you who are interested in emotional intelligence, in learning emotional intelligence, and it should not be a one-time learning, it should become an incessant practice in life. Because if one doctor surgeon, a lady doctor surgeon in one of the workshops on outcome-based learning, outcome-based in education, one topic was emotional intelligence. I'm still keeping those notes with me. If that lecture prompted me to look into it further, a doctor, it came from a doctor, not a psychologist or psychiatrist. It came from a housewife, it came from a surgeon who is wife of a physician. If they can instigate, I feel I have done a little bit of my duty towards YCC. That's what I feel. Namashivaya, pranams to all of you once again. Any questions, anything you want to discuss? Or any comments from Ramsi Menon or Vinay Kumar sir?
Before going to the queries, I would like to invite Dr. T. Vinay Kumar, National President of Public Relations Council of India. He is also the Director of World Communicators Council and also the Vice President and Director of PRCI YCC Government Council. I would like to cordially invite you to address the gathering.
Thank you, thank you. What a thoughtful and wonderful speech. I'm really taken aback. This is at this time of teamwork and synergy. The importance of emotional intelligence is very far superior than any other skill in workplace as well as in our daily life. So, Dr. U. Krishnamar has given a very insightful talk. I have also learned a lot. Thank you. It is a wonderful session. Thank you for the opportunity to listen. Thank you, Amrita School, for organizing such a beautiful program. I don't want to take much of your time. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much, sir. So now the session is open for interaction. Those who wish to ask questions may please use the raise hand option in Teams. Yes, Kushagrika, you can unmute and speak.
Namaskar, sir. Thank you so much for the very beautiful session. I wanted to ask you regarding how you mentioned, like, for example, there is a surgeon who in the during the day is doing surgery and going through a lot of different emotions, and when he goes back home he has to deal with a different set. And like you said, Carnegie mentioned that we are emotional beings, not logical beings. So it's possible that those emotions might affect our behavior at home. So, sir, how do we ensure, like, even us sometimes in college we have some issues, we might take it home with us. So how do we create the divide and separate our emotions in different situations?
Excellent question. Excellent. I appreciate that question. Amma herself used to say, you can use a knife in the hands of a surgeon. The knife is meant for surgery. The outcome of that is expected to be a positive outcome. The same knife in a different form, you give it to a culprit, he may use to murder. So the knife is same. The knife is same. Here what makes the difference is your intelligence and your discretion applied to your intelligence, applied to your emotions, applied to your emotions. I'll give you another example. You would have seen my house walking along the elephants, leading the elephants when they go for temple festival and all. But when they are walking, when the elephants are made to walk on a small road or something like that, where there is a lot of vegetation on the sides of the road, the Mahout gives a stick in the hands of the elephant, in the horns of the elephant. You know why? The elephant cannot eat all the vegetable, all the stuff, all the greenery around what he is seeing. Right? Third example. In a horse race, the eyes of the horse are tied. In Malayalam, we call it as a patta. We tied the one who is controlling the master, ties it so that the elephant, the horse doesn't look aside, focused on running, focused on the track only. The horse is able to see only the track. So your purpose, your vision should paramount the other emotions. That's the solution. But slowly you can pick up. You cannot pick it up all of a sudden on a day, neither none of us. Even I. I don't know whether it answers your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Actually, it answered in the way what I understood is slowly we need to focus on what we prioritize and then.
Your goal setting is important and remaining
Yes.
with goal is important.
Thank you so much, sir.
Sure.
Any more questions? Yeah, Shivadatta. Shivadatta, you can unmute and speak.
Sure, sir. Sir, so the question I had was like in our life there comes situations where we make mistakes, especially when we are young. But then sometimes we are not ready to uh, like there's something that stops us from admitting our mistakes, so our faults. So in those situations, even when we are aware that we need to change our attitude, we are not able to admit our faults. So how can we use our emotional intelligence to change our attitude in this kind of situation?
First time you may find it difficult, but second time, if you haven't done it and you never admitted your mistake, you never asked pardon for that, the sustained result of that in your next experiences should have taught you something that one day or other, next time I should do it. So the longer you wait, the worse it is. The earlier you do it, the better it is. How can you prove it? You do it, and the response will be tremendous. Response from the opposite person normally will be excellent, and that person, if he is emotionally well intelligent, then that person will take you and buy you coffee. So experience is a ladder. Experiences are ladders. So you can put the ladder on based on situational awareness. So it's the experience what it, that is why I said, through experience, if you contemplate every day before you sleep, your good and bad things what you have done, and a resolve to get over with the bad habits, and next day when I'll not be doing these mistakes, I'll be a better person. That resolve dies deep in your subconscious mind. When you get up, your conscious mind gets up first, and the other thoughts come from the subconscious mind. So these thoughts which have been emulated there, which have been encapsulated there, all these positive thoughts will come and guide you. That is why I said, somebody said, intelligence can lead you, wisdom can guide you. Okay. I'm only giving you a tip of the iceberg, not the complete answer. It requires a lot of examples and all. Time constraints are there. So
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
thank you for the question. It's a good question.
Thank you, Shivadatta. Any more questions? So now
Shri
let's.
Ramsi Menon, I would like you to make some comments. It's long since we are meeting.
So now let's move forward. I invite Mr. Ramji Menon, Director, PRCI YCC, Kerala State, to address the guest.
Thank you. Respected Speaker of the Day, Dr. Krishna Kumar, faculty members, HOD of Digital Department, Dr. Dinesh, the staff members, Hari Krishnan. I think Rega ma'am is not here. And the president of YCC, Sudhers, and the YCC members of Amrita College and rest of the YCC members and the faculty coordinators and the students of Amrita College. First, please bear with me. I'm outside and there are a lot of noises. I don't know whether you'll be able to hear me. So I'll make it short. The first time I listened to Kishore sir was way back in 2003, 2004. And since then, I had got a few opportunities to listen to him. And every time I listen to him, I take home tons of wisdom he shares. I think today also, I think it's the same. Even though I have read all the Daniel Goleman's books, right from the emotional intelligence to, I think, the last one, I think, social intelligence. Putting all this book together, I think when I listen to Kishore Kumar sir, I got the application side of whatever he was mentioning. Because still Daniel Goleman was considered to be the one and only person who can write and probably or talk about eloquently or in authority with social intelligence. I think what Kishore Kumar sir said in each of those sections, it's a kind of applied emotional intelligence, which is, I think, easy to apply. And there are certain points which really touched me. Is one thing, sir, when you say definition of about the rather the deception of your emotional impulses, and then the hallmark is actually the comfort with ambiguity. Only thing is I have a doubt in the thing because when you say generally ambiguity, it has never been a comfortable position. So that is one thing I would like to have a clarification from you on that particular point.
Ambiguity here, what I really meant was Sometimes the conflicts arising out of the wrong interpretations and the wrong perception. And the ambiguity arises out of that. So for one person, a diagram might be enough to describe some situation or something like that. One paragraph of writing may be enough. But for another person, it may not be enough. That is why the emotional intelligence, the whole picture should be filled with a little bit of more factors, and sometimes a detailed study may be required. It's something like a surgeon looking into the, scanned image and then starting the surgery. Then once the surgery is halfway progressing, he might find something else more which has been hidden in the actual image. Then he doesn't have any time to discuss, or he doesn't have any time to ponder about it too much, about what is knowledge what he gained. You only have to make sure this experience of dealing with that situation is showing him the right path. So that is why I deliberately introduce that term, ambiguity. Maybe it is wrong, but then.
Another thing, in fact, what I liked about the statement you said, I think, once you are aware of your emotional impulses and what is the kind of impact it is going to create on the receiver side, that enlightenment is, you are intelligent at the same time you are smart also. I think it's very, very, very applicable thing, and I think that is one thing all our youngsters need to aspire to become. You are intelligent at the same time. You are smart. You are smart not only in terms of speaking smart and or whatever, doing things smart, but then it's also understand oneself. That's called the smartness.
Correct.
And regulation also. That's something which I really, really liked about the way you talked about that concept.
Expectations do differ from one person to another person for the same impulse created by one person on a group of people. The expectations of every one of these persons need not be identical. Sometimes it may be identical on a common problem, but sometimes expectations may differ based on the mindset of each and every one of the individual. So that also is a point which is connecting that with this idea. So it's as I told you, it's a wide topic. I am teaching this topic for graduate students for the last, almost 75 hours lecture it is, almost 60 hours lecture, with a lot of examples, lot of. Geeta Vahani has written a very good book on emotional intelligence. It's an excellent book. Published sometime in 1990, 2000, late 90s. Yeah. It's an excellent book. It is from her practical experience as a psychologist. I take a lot of examples from that, a lot of case studies from that. Case studies in the sense she has given each concept, she has given another tabular column of all these outcomes, and then another example like that. Raising from one level of the primitive level of emotional intelligence to the highest level.
And I'm now curious to know whether Daniel Goleman has read Bhagavad Gita, and rest of us.
Might have read.
Yeah, because you say, I think the whatever he has written there, which in fact we probably knew it okay, much more, but then we still didn't know that okay, this existing this gems of wisdom existing in our own sacred.
Correct.
Only thing I think that is the I think probably the very peculiar situation of the country, like when we all need to wait for somebody else in the West to come and tell us, and probably later on we correlate with whatever we have. I think it should be the other way around. I always felt.
Thank you.
Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. It's literally a a treat to listen to you, and I think there's a lot to reflect on. That is what I think all the
You
students
use the
and
correct term, reflecting and contemplation. Yeah.
correct.
Correct.
So I think let's all take this opportunity to, I mean, the coming days to reflect on whatever Kishomar has said, sir said today or shared with us. And thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And I congratulate Sudarsh and team for having organized yet another program. I think all for your last three programs have been really enriching, and I think it's like something to reflect on. Continue this good going, and look forward to your next month's program. We missed Rega ma'am. I'm sure she will be listening to the recording, and I think I pray. I think her child is not well. I was told. I think my prayers for the child to recover fast, and I think all of us should pray for the child's recovery.
We'll pray.
Thank thank you, YCC team Amrita, to give me an opportunity to share my thoughts.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I invite Ms. Kushagrika Marwaha, Secretary, PRCI, YCC Chapter, Amrita School of Arts and Sciences, Kochi, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you. Honorable dignitaries and our most valued guests, it is my privilege to have been asked to propose the vote of thanks on this august occasion. First and foremost, I would like to thank the Public Relations Council of India on behalf of the entire YCC team of Amrita School of Arts and Sciences for giving us this golden opportunity. I would like to express my most sincere gratitude towards our beloved director, Dr. U. Krishna Kumar sir, for his enlightening talk on the topic of emotional intelligence and workplace communication. Sir, not only are we grateful to you for sharing your wisdom with us, but also for your continuous support to the YCC team. Thank you, sir. It is also my great honor to thank Dr. T. Vinay Kumar sir, National President of Public Relations Council of India, for launching this event by giving the inaugural speech and addressing us. So thank you so much. I must also mention my deep appreciation for Mr. Ramsi Menon, Chairman of PRCI Kerala chapter, for addressing the meeting and addressing so fruitfully to the session, sir. Your constant cheer and support to members of ICC all over is an inspiration to us all. Thank you, sir. Furthermore, this event would not be possible without the guidance of Dr. Dinesh S. Babu, Head of Department, Visual Media and Communication, Hari Krishnan Sir, Department Chairperson, Rekha Ma'am, Faculty Coordinator, and all staff members from the Visual Media Department. I'm immensely thankful to all faculty members and YCC members who have joined us from different campuses. Once again, I would like to thank all audience members for their participation and for making this meeting a success. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kushagrika. It's time to officially conclude the session with the Shanti Mantra.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
The session is officially over. Thank you once again. Namah Shivaya.
Thank you, sir.